All right, welcome back once again to another episode of the Contrarians. We've got one of our esteemed guests here, Tim Durling from Tim's Vinyl Confessions. How you doing, Tim?
Good, Martin. Looking forward to this. This is going to be
Yes.
fun.
Excellent. Yeah. So, what we're going to do here is another episode of our Build a Bad Album series. We've done five of these up to this point, and this is going to be our sixth. And we're going to be looking at Aerosmith in the 70s. So, we don't want to take all of Aerosmith all at once. We just want to sort of examine, perhaps by decade how this works. And we're going to start with the 70s. So, yeah, the idea here is that. We're poking a little fun at a band that we really like, and looking at the bottom of the barrel and seeing some crappy songs that we can put on an Aerosmith greatest hits album or an anti greatest hits album. I don't know. I think we might call this Crocs, this album. So we're gonna call this Aerosmith Crocs. But we had some other ones here between the two of us. We had we had Sweet Implosion. SOS All Bad, Wet Your Wings, Toys in the Basement, and Ploys of the Addicts. There you go. So we have lots of titles here to give Marco and say, hey, pick one of these. But I like Crocs. Crocs is nice and simple
to the point.
Yeah, Aerosmith Crocs. So yeah, without further ado, let's have Tim give us our side one. He's picked five tracks for the original vinyl of this terrible Aerosmith Crocs album.
Thanks, Martin. This was hard. I had a hard time coming up with, because Aerosmith in the 70s was pretty unassailable. But, these are songs that either I don't care for particularly or don't like nearly as much as most of their other catalog. So first couple songs I want to pick are actually, I found there's one thing that has them both, and it's this The Road Starts Here, which came out early 2022. This is like from 71, one of their first recordings. Anyway, the first one that came to mind is a song that I first heard of when they Columbia put out the Classics Live in 1986. They stuck this song at the end of it. I think it's an outtake from the first album. But Major Barbara, it's this weird, I don't know what you'd call it, folksy ballad. And I've never liked it. I don't like it in any of the versions I've heard. I'm glad they left it off the first album. So that was the obvious one. I thought, okay, well, this saves me taking another one off of one of their albums. Although the next one is a song that did appear on their first album. I think it's a pretty early song for them. It's the song Somebody. And it's kind of a boogie rocker. There's nothing particularly bad about it, but if I have to pick on something, I would say that it sounds like it could have been anyone. It doesn't necessarily have the Aerosmith identity. Now, granted, that first album has a bit of an identity crisis anyway, because Steven sounds so different and it's so poorly recorded and not nearly as high fidelity as what would immediately follow. But that song in particular just doesn't sound like Aerosmith. I mean, you even take songs like One Way Street or Moving Out, you can tell it's Aerosmith even in its form. But so yeah, those are the first two. Next one comes off of this album. I have this really early CD. Draw the Line. I picked The Hand That Feeds. Again, not a bad song, but knowing what we know about the recording of that album and the drugs and the production and finishing it up to get out on tour, this song just sounds unfinished to me. There's not really much of a chorus. Lyrically, he's borrowing from, I think it's Long Tall Sally, everything that Uncle John needs. I mean, Steven's such a great lyricist, but you get the feeling that they were it almost sounds like a jam that got recorded. And, the chorus is basically just doctor, 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 please. It's just not that fantastic a song. And finally, it kills me. It kills me. But I had to pick two songs from this, which I have argued on The Contrarians is my favorite Aerosmith album, Night in the Ruts. I love this album to death, but I had to be brutal in picking them. First one is the closing track, Maya or Mia, which Stephen wrote about his daughter. And it's a really strange song to write about your newborn child because it sounds like a dirge. It sounds like a funeral dirge. Now, it's got some beautiful passages in it. It's your typical Aerosmith album closing ballad. They did that a few times. This one just, again, sounds unfinished. The chorus is just Stephen going, ooh, ooh, like there's nothing really there. It's got a beautiful mid section in it. Almost it's got like some Queen chord changes in it, but just sounds unfinished to me. And it's long been said that sort of like tolling bell at the end of it almost sounded like the death knell for Aerosmith. And of course, this was the last album to feature the classic lineup for 6 years. But so I picked that one. And finally, I'm going to pick on I think was the only single they released from this album, Remember Walking in the Sand, which I can't remember if it was the Shangri-Las that did this originally. It was one of the girl groups from the early 60s. And it's an odd song for Aerosmith. Like, Aerosmith sometimes picks really good covers. I mean, people sometimes forget Train Kept a Rollin' wasn't an Aerosmith original because they own it so well. This one just seems like, I think I know one of the reasons that Steven wanted to record it, and it's kind of a funny reason, a creepy reason too. It's talked about in their autobiography, Walk This Way. But what's really funny about this song is that in recent times, and I talked about this with Marco when we did our Contrarians episode, that in the TikTok universe, a version of this song, a sped up version, I don't think it's the Aerosmith version, has seen a new life. Anytime there's a TikTok of somebody that's about to slip and fall or something bad's about to happen, you've got the oh no, oh no, oh no. Well, that's this song. So there are young kids that, if they know anything by Aerosmith, they might, I don't want to miss a thing, that band. But they'll know this song if that's the song on TikTok, and it's reduced to that. So it's an odd song for them to do. I still love the Night in the Ruts record, though, quite a bit. But if 5 songs needed to be picked for a side, those are my 5.
Nice. Good job. Yeah, I agree with all of those except your last choice, because I actually really I'm okay with Remember Walking in the Sand. And I think what I like about it is it's got that sort of catchy novelty sort of chorus to it with the spaces in it and all that. I think they do it. It's a neat chorus. I think the verses are pretty dull and they're just retro, Aerosmith doing something retro, girl groupie, blah, 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 whatever. But yeah, I don't mind that song. But yeah, the rest of I totally agree with. Okay, so my side 2 of Aerosmith Crocs, I'm going with Write Me a Letter from this album. I agree with everything you said about this album. I've always had it in for this record. I don't like Steven's creepy low register voice. We've talked before about how Ozzy kind of does that on the First Sabbath, and even Roger Daltrey in the early days. And you wonder if it's if these guys lacking confidence and wanting to sound older than their age, right? Kind of thing. But yeah, he's got this. It's most pronounced here of those 3 guys on this Aerosmith album. And Write Me a Letter is just this sort of bouncy, sort of old retro, boring, stodgy, dopey sort of song. Never been a fan of it. And because I have it in for this album so much, I'm going to go with a second track from it as well. One Way Street, which I find kind of like shuffly, depressing. It's got this sort of descending chord sequence that just kind of creeps me out. It's got piano in it. Again, the low vocal thing. It's got harmonica, that weird stuttery vocal thing he does in it. So never been a fan of One Way Street either from this. I frankly could have picked a lot of songs from that album. My second one's a little bit, my third one is a bit of a controversial choice, but I wanted to kind of make a point. Get Your Wings. I love about 3 songs on it, and I like everything else on it. Overall, it's a really good album. And as you rightly said, the recording is great. They got good production immediately. But I wanted to pick on a little bit Same Old Song and Dance, which is starting to annoy me over the years. It sounds a little line dancey to me. It sounds like a little new Def Leppard, so I don't like the something about it has just always kind of bothered me, and it's time to put it on an Aerosmith Crocs album. So there you go. And then my next choice, I went with Sight for Sore Eyes from this album. So there's a few on here, and great choice in the hand that feeds, but I almost went with Milk Cow Blues as well, which is a cover, but it's heavy and it's kind of okay. I remember as a kid, we thought it was okay, but just not even a massive fan of really anything on here except Draw the Line, which I've actually called my favorite song of all time by anybody before. But Sight for Sore Eyes is just one of those swampy, soupy, funky things with no real groove to it. I mean, Aerosmith sometimes finds a way to be funky and have no groove whatsoever. I don't think Last Child has any groove to it either.
I don't think the production on Draw the Line does it any favors either.
Exactly. Good point. And then my final choice, I went for Reefer Head Woman from this album. I don't like when any bands do these kind of slow blues or these rote blues that are pretty normal. And I spent a lot of my life assuming that was a cover, but they actually wrote it, which is not great. So yeah, Reefer Head Woman, and I also called it Reefer Headed Woman for many years.
Well, that's how he sings it.
Yeah. So it's actually called Reefer Head Woman. So
I thought it was a cover too. I thought
I just checked again, and I remember when we did this as a panel thing, I checked as well, but no, it's pretty sure it's theirs.
It's funny because they also do it on this, which is like 8 years before that album came out, so that gives you an idea how long that had been in their repertoire.
So there you go. That's our whole mess of, I don't know, any comment on any of those?
Well, I like Same Old Song and Dance, but know that anything that's on that that original greatest hits, even Remember Walking in the Sand. I mean, I'm picking on it, but I mean that early greatest hits is my introduction to the '70s Aerosmith. But yeah, you're right about you're definitely right about the two songs from the first album. That first album has such an identity crisis, and it's so weird that they came out of it right away, because even if you've never heard any of the songs on it, if you put on Get Your Wings, somebody will go, well, that's Aerosmith. I've never heard it, but that's definitely Aerosmith.
Yeah.
I'm surprised neither of us picked Big 10-inch Record from Toys in the Attic.
I thought of that. Yeah.
But it's kind of easy to pick on these covers, and it saves you, putting a lot of venom towards Aerosmith originals, which you don't want to do that much. But yeah, this isn't, this wouldn't make for the best of Aerosmith listening experiences. I definitely wouldn't want to introduce anyone to the band with this album that we're constructing here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there you go, folks. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Of course, we have a Patreon situation as well, and we've got these great panels where we've done deep dives into albums and all sorts of panel ideas. So that's if you want to help us out on Patreon, that's great. Hit like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until next time, go play some Aerosmith, but don't play these songs.